Good evening. Welcome to the overnight edition of From Day One. Art Bell and Dr. Ron Clance are waiting with us on the other side of the bend. So as we start this fight in the adventures, we take you out to Art Bell in part 2 of tonight's Anti-Aging.
He was sick, yes, but that's how well his rejuvenation was working.
Okay.
And Lex went on to the ripe old age of almost 17.
Oh, that's really old.
It's incredibly old. According to the American Kennel Club, the oldest Airedale they had on record was about 17 and a few months.
Well,
and Lex was just ready to turn 17, and he had a stroke, and I nursed him back from the stroke, and he was fine for a couple months. And then he took sick again, and he lost control of his, things. And he just wasn't there anymore. When you look in someone's eyes,
right.
Your dog's eyes, and they're looking back at you, they're there.
Sure.
Well, he wasn't there anymore. My dog had gone. Now, I still had the body of my dog, the shell.
Alzheimer's of some sort, or?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what was...
Okay, I get it. Well, but on the other hand, doctor... Okay, I get it.
And so I put him down.
Yeah, I get it. All right.
What I'm saying is I wasn't going to keep him around as an experiment because quality of his life was gone. But
that's fair. That's fair. And I've got a counterpoint, maybe.
But he was the reason, and he was what showed me and convinced me that radical anti-aging was in fact possible. Because he had recovered so dramatically in such a short period of time.
All right. I had a cat. I lost my cat about a couple of months ago now. It was very hard. Very, very hard. My cat's name was Yeti. I had Yeti when you and I interviewed. Yeti died at 23 years of age.
Wow.
Yeti ate normal cat food.
Mm-hmm.
So, what? Good genetics?
Well, good genetics, good loving. I'm sure you took the best care of him.
Constantly,
and,
yes.
Maybe he liked being around with you. I don't know.
He totally did, yes. And he hung around as long as he could. He too had arthritis, and his hair had changed, but we took care of him very carefully and lovingly, and he really did. For a cat, that's old.
That's very old. But what I'm saying is the technology is here now with hormone replacement therapy and advanced antioxidant therapies and rehabilitative therapies, and there's also cytokines and stem cells and some other things that we have now that we didn't have before, where you can actually reach in and retool the metabolism and make an older animal into a younger animal. And it shows in life expectancy, it shows in quality of life and their energy levels and their performance.
Can you do the same thing to a human?
I certainly hope so. That's what I'm doing to myself every day. I've done that to my mom, to thousands of my patients, and my doctors of the academy are doing that for tens of millions of patients every day.
So are you pooping rainbows? Sorry. I mean, are you getting...
I think I'm a little too close to really... Yeah, I'd have to have someone take a look from a distance.
I mean, are you... is your hair getting darker? Are your muscles building? Is your muscle mass building? Is whatever arthritis you had retreating? All the normal questions.
For myself, and I am not like a tremendous specimen. I'm not an Olympian. I'm not someone who was, a fantastic athlete throughout my life. I've been more of a cerebral kind of guy, more of a couch potato, frankly. And, I spend, right now I spend about 4 hours a day on the internet, another 4 hours with my journals. And that's in addition to a full day's, work schedule.
Right.
So, people routinely guess me at 15 years younger than my chronological age.
Mm-hmm.
And am I 15 years younger biologically? Well, when I look at my laboratory results, I am probably 5, 7, 8 years younger biologically than I am if I was to, look at those measures compared to chronological age. So I look better and I test out better younger than I do otherwise. And most of these patients who are doing anti-aging therapies do the same thing. They actually look better, and and on objective biological measurements, they test out younger as well. And we're able to do all kinds of things to reduce the risk factors for cancer, diabetes, heart disease, cancer. And so if you don't die of those 4 major leading causes of death,
yes,
then statistically you're going to see your 100th birthday and beyond.
Interesting. Your 100th birthday and beyond. Aren't there other break points? This is just Art Bell having an observation of life, but it seems to me like a lot of guys in their early to mid, even late 50s, tend to drop dead of heart attacks and stuff like that. And then, I don't know, it just seems to me that if they make it into their 60s, 65, 70, then they're going to make it for another whatever. It seems like there are points of hurdle. Is that?
That's probably true. I mean, from a statistical point of view, as a man, you're probably, looking at 50, 55 as a very dangerous age.
Right.
And if you can get past that into the 60s, then you're probably going to be all right until your early 70s. But, every year you live longer, it's better. The statistics just get better and better for living that much longer.
Okay. All right.
It's really pretty exciting.
All right, doctor, stay right there, and we'll be right back. This is exciting stuff, actually, folks. With lots of things to talk about, it is possible to live longer. Get out of the box. But you can definitely live longer, another 15 years. Does that sound good to you?
We'll return in just a moment.
It's time between dusk and dawn. From the high desert, it's Art Bell's Midnight in the Desert. Now, here's Art.
Here I am. Dr. Platts. Dr. Platts is my guest, and he's good stuff. It's anti-aging medicine. Holly, new listener, she thinks, Art, you seem off tonight. You're angry. No, Holly, I'm not. You are a new listener, and I'm glad to have you, but I'm not at all angry. In fact, I'm in a superb mood. I'm not the wuss of a talk show host that you're probably used to listening to, Holly. And I have strong opinions. I have a very dry sense of humor, and you'll eventually get used to me. Dr. Platts, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Art. Can I mention our website?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay. Everything I'm talking about between my dog Lex and hormone replacement therapy and some of the costs of these therapies and, probably everything that we're going to talk about.
Right.
But, most things are online at worldhealth.net, worldhealth.net. And that's the official website of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. We have 26,000 physician members in 120 countries around the world. And if you go to worldhealth.net, there's a free newsletter that's called Longevity Magazine. And every week we go through about 400 journals, just pulling the articles that have to do with improving the quality and the quantity of the human lifespan, or improving human performance, whether it be, sports performance or memory or the prevention of cancer. It's really useful stuff, and people love it. It's award-winning, and you can sign up for it for free, only if they're your listener.
Well, now that's a pretty good deal.
But they can sign up for it for free at worldhealth.net, and it's
how will you know?
Non-commercial, by the way. We don't sell anything.
How will you know if they're my listeners?
Well, don't just say that they are.
Okay. I mean,
And if they're not, they should be, right?
yeah, if they're not, don't even give them another minute. All right, so back.
Thank you, Art.
You bet. Back for 1 second to Lex the Wonder Dog. Did you do anything for Lex during the course of your experiment that you could not legally do to a person today? Yeah, think hard. That's a hard question.
Let me think. There probably was not.
Okay.
Probably was not. You see, Lex got treated back when, and so stem cells were not available, and I didn't use stem cells on Lex. If I did, I'm sure I would have gotten a better result. But I got a great result with him. I mean, I got a lot.
Oh no, I understand. I was just curious. I mean, it was experimental.
Everything that we did with him was easily available, and really, that's what I'd like the listeners to understand is that you can do about 70% of an anti-aging medicine program without even a physician.
Mm.
If you're willing to read the journals, and not the journals, the books, and I have 42 books in print right now on anti-aging, and you don't have to read my books, but I mean, the world is full of books on anti-aging medicine right now by really good people, and not just me. If you want to read this stuff and you want to put together your own anti-aging medicine program, it'll work. And you can do about 60-70% of it without any doctor's intervention whatsoever.
Amazing.
And if you have access to a laboratory, that's 80% of the program.
All right, let's reach out now and talk about stem cells for a moment. How useful and in what way can stem cells be used to either extend life or repair life?
Well, we're at the point of repairing life right now, not quite extending life with stem cells, though. It's hard to say. It's really two sides of the same coin. When you fix something, it works better, and when it works better, you last longer.
Well, I mean, if you fix something, then a lot of times you're extending it because you didn't fix it. Well, then, terminal time.
Okay, but with regard to stem cells, the technology is such at this moment where stem cells work fantastically well for musculoskeletal problems. For joints, you can rebuild joints. You can improve, fibromyalgia responds very nicely to both platelet-rich plasma injections and stem cells. Arthritic joints, torn ligaments. There is hardly anything in orthopedics that cannot benefit from stem cell or platelet-rich plasma or cytokine therapies.
Are we talking about fetal stem cells?
Well, let's not get stuck on the word fetal. It doesn't.
But let's tell the truth. There's two ways, right? Fetal stem cells, and then you can take, I believe, adults. You can take
adult stem cells.
Yes.
You can take stem cells from amniotic fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that's not you're not chopping up fetuses to get to that. There's plenty of cells in the amniotic fluid.
Right.
You can take stem cells from fat, which is adult stem cells.
Mm-hmm.
You can take stem cells from the placenta.
Okay. I'm sorry, doctor. Are adult stem cells as effective as fetal stem cells?
It depends on what you're using it for.
Okay.
The closer you get to fetal stem cells, the more active the cells are and the more pluripotent they are, the more they're able to work and transform into various tissues to correct various different problems. The scary part is, well, there's two things. First of all, everybody, nobody wants to take an aborted fetus and use it for laboratory experiments.
No.
That's out of the question. It's immoral, and doctors don't do that. So we don't do fetal cell stem cells, though you can get fetal cells from the placenta and from the amniotic fluid, and you can get from other sources.
Sure.
But you can do almost everything you want to do in stem cells with adult-derived stem cells, or with amniotic stem cells, or with placental stem cells, or with stem cells from fat, or from the back of the eye, or the back of the nose. There's plenty of sources of stem cells. I mean, immense amounts of sources of stem cells. And if you really need to use fetal tissue, if there is some unique purpose, like, for example, there may be some rare uses of fetal stem cells for repairing spinal cord, there are something like 700,000 or 800,000 fetuses that are sitting in freezers in laboratories just in the United States from in vitro fertilization projects where they took eggs and sperm and made them into little like blastocytes,
right, sure,
4-day-old things, and these things are just going to sit there forever until they throw them away. So you can say, why would you toss this stuff down the drain when you can use this to save someone's life or to take someone who's a quadriplegic and give them the opportunity to walk again?
Well, because of people's morality, religion, and politics.
I think it's mostly politics. I don't hear, even when I talk to people, I talk to people around the country all the time, and the most religious of them all do not have problems, by and large, with stem cells that are derived from the right source, that do not involve abortions. If it doesn't involve abortions, usually I hear no complaints.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. All right. So stem cells.
I think it's more the politics, and it's used as an excuse to hinder advancements in certain areas. Unfortunately, it's said that there are more politics in medicine than there are politics, and that's been my observation.
All right, Doctor, where can we go with stem cells? You've told me where we are in repair of some things. When we really grasp this technology fully, where can we go with stem cells? What could be done?
The belief is that we're going to be able to use stem cells to repair every organ in the body, that we're going to be able to regrow tissue, all types of tissue. We're going to be able to repair all types of tissue, and we may be able to cure diseases such as Alzheimer's disease, liver disease, heart disease.
Wow. That's quite a claim.
Yeah, because what you have is you have the basic building blocks of the cells of your body. That's what stem cells are. These are the things, when you cut yourself, what happens? The body forms a scar, it forms a scab, and it sends out chemical messengers. And in the chemical messengers, it says, hey, come fix this torn tissue.
Right.
What goes to fix the torn tissue? Stem cells. So we have stem cells in our bodies all the time, but as we get older, we lose a number of stem cells and we lose the efficiency of those stem cells. And so if you could have a new supply of young, aggressive, healthy, well-tuned stem cells, then you would be able to repair yourself from almost any injury. And that's the promise of stem cell technology, and that's why it's so exciting, and unfortunately why so many different people are fighting over it.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to telomeres. Telomeres are, am I not saying that correctly?
No, telomeres is
that okay?
Correct.
All right. These are like, I don't know, like a burning fuse inside of you. In other words, they start out. Is it? They start out at a certain length, I guess, at birth, or by the time you reach. I don't know. But when do the telomeres start getting shorter? Right away, or is it?
They start to shorten immediately. The telomeres are the end pieces, the end caps of the DNA. DNA are like this helix. They're kind of like shoelaces.
Right.
You know how you have the little plastic on the ends of shoelaces so the ends don't fray?
Sure.
Well, unfortunately, that's our telomeres. And they just get short with every time the cell duplicates itself. It reproduces itself because the cells are always constantly repairing and reproducing themselves.
Yes.
Okay, and depending on the cell, if it's your skin, it happens very quickly. If it's your blood vessel, if it's a red blood cell, I think it's like 90 days or 120 days. If it's brain tissue or something else or bone tissue, may be a couple of years before it reproduces. But all the cells in our body are reproducing themselves. And so what happens is as these cells turn over, the telomeres get shorter and shorter and shorter. They're like a little clicker switch, if you will, on your copy machine. It tells you how many copies you made.
Right. And
when it gets to a certain shorter length, it starts to the end of the chromosome that is covered by the telomere starts to become exposed. And when that area of the chromosome becomes more exposed, things happen that are associated with aging. And the body changes in its production of proteins, in its ability to repair DNA, in its ability to be more youthful. And so you don't want really short chromosomes.
No.
Really short telomeres, rather.
No.
Because as the telomeres become shorter, they become more aged in their manifestation.
I think mine are already short enough. If we could increase the length of these telomeres, if there was technology to have a little blue pill for the telomeres, whatever, if they could be longer, would that change things?
Well, that's a good question. That's a very good question. The belief is that it would. Experimentally, we see that animals that we've been able to treat with experimental drugs, where we've been able to increase the length of their telomeres, do become more active and more youthful.
But it's not a total key.
It's not a total key. It's not a complete rejuvenation. And the other issue is that nobody really dies because their telomeres are too short.
No?
They get older, but they die of old age disease. They don't die because their telomeres are too short and that their cells stop reproducing.
So
it's not the whole story is what I'm saying, and our understanding of it is not yet complete. And worse than that, we don't have a good pill for reversing it yet. We have some nutrients, things like exercise will help to prevent telomere shortening, and antioxidants will help to prevent telomere shortening, and some oriental herbs will help as well, and there are a couple of chemicals, but the chemicals unfortunately are toxic in other ways. So we don't have the answer, we don't have the magic bullet yet for fixing telomeres.
Right, so even if we could be kept alive through the other medicines that you have mentioned, and we could stay alive so long that our telomeres just cease to exist any longer.
No, they don't cease to exist. They just the end pieces, again, they're the end pieces of the chromosome, and they get shorter and shorter and shorter, and as the telomeres become shorter, they expose certain areas of DNA that lead to age-related changes in the body. But they don't disappear entirely.
All right, hold tight. I think I want to know more about that. I picture this little frayed telomere. Kind of like a frayed rope. I don't know. This is Midnight in the Desert. I'm Art Bell.
It's not radio, but it is what's next, exclusively on the Dark Matter Digital Network, Midnight in the Desert, with Art Bell. Now, here's Art.
Here I am. Again, thank you. Don't call yet. We will get to call shortly, by the way, for Dr. Klantz. I know you want to talk to him, and you've got a lot of questions, according to what I'm seeing on the wormhole. So, how do we sound strange if you don't explain it, right? The wormhole is people who are time traveler members have two privileges. One, they can go back and listen to old shows anytime they want. And two, they can use the wormhole, which means you can send me a message as we do the program. So when I refer to it, that's what I'm talking about. Doctor, welcome back. When we were talking about telomeres, and I was picturing them as these, I don't know, little sticks sprayed on the end. No?
More like shoelaces.
Shoelaces sprayed on the end.
Yeah, the DNA is a helix, and the two strands. Most people, though, there is some talk about some unique individuals who have more than two strands of DNA, but that's another story. That's more for ufology. But,
well, that's awfully interesting. Anyway, are there really people with two strands of DNA? Seriously?
Well, we have two strands, but there is some talk that people could have 3 or 4 strands of DNA.
Well, I would think 4. In other words, 2 double-stranded.
Yeah.
Have you actually seen that?
I have not. I'm just mentioning this out of the blue because it's late at night and it seemed like a fun thing to say.
It is. It is. I can imagine all kinds of things.
It's possible. And I've read a couple of things on the internet where they say that they found some evidence of people with more than double-stranded DNA. I can't say that I've confirmed that, and it's really not. I'm not that kind of researcher, but it would be interesting if it was true, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, it sure would.
But telomeres, the end pieces of the chromosome, are there to protect the DNA, and they do get shorter as people live. Every time the DNA replicates itself through mitotic division, they click off and they get a little shorter, a little shorter, a little shorter, a little shorter. And in the process of doing that, they open up little sites on the chromosome that leads to the production of proteins that are associated with aging-related problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thought is, if you could reestablish the original length of the chromosome of the telomere on the end piece of the chromosome, you would go back to a more youthful physiology. And there is some clinical evidence, there is some certainly laboratory evidence to suggest that is in fact true.
How can you imagine that might be achieved?
Well, there are chemicals that will regrow the telomere. And there are activities that will lengthen the telomere, including very active sports. And that may be why athletes, seem to grow older at a slower rate. But it's basically a chemical driven by chemistry, and there are some Chinese herbs that seem to have a beneficial effect. And also antioxidants, high levels of antioxidants protect the telomere from shortening.
Why do the Chinese have all these interesting things that seem to work? My wife, by the way, is only 4 feet 10 inches tall. When she was young in the Philippines, she took tall pills from the Chinese. Didn't work.
Well,
but she's gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous. 4'10". There you go. Anyway, so the Chinese do really seem to have something for everything nearly, and whether it works or not, but apparently some of them work.
Some of them do work, and they work amazingly well. We're kind of kept in the dark in the Western world. There's more to the world than just Western medicine. There is traditional Chinese medicine, which is a body of knowledge that's going back over 10,000 years.
Right.
We have Ayurvedic medicine, which is the Indian form of medicine that goes back like 6, 7, 8,000 years, maybe longer. And then you have the Nepal and the Tibetan medicine. And then you have the empiric schools in the United States, which are, naturopathy and chiropractic and osteopathy and, a half dozen others that have been suppressed by allopathic medicine, which is what we call MD medicine. But MD medicine was basically came out of the Rockefellers, and they bought up all the empiric schools, and they made them into MD schools, and they snuffed out a lot of the empirical medicine that was associated with it in that day in favor of patent medicines, we talked at the very beginning about how expensive medicines are.
Sure.
Well, patent medicines, cost, a tenth of a penny to produce, and they can sell them for, $1 or $100 a pill because they're patented. Whereas the empirical medicines, which are, natural medicines, they might cost, 3 cents, 5 cents a pill because that's, they only cost a penny to produce, and they're not patentable. And so, from a business, again, my position was that we have let medicine become a business instead of a healing art, and that's why medicine is so, messed up,
screwed up, completely messed up.
Nice way to say it.
Yeah.
It's we used to call it something on toast, and it really is.
Bottom line here, folks, seems to be if you can afford about $4,000 a month, beginning when you're how old, Doctor?
I would have no hesitation recommending starting an anti-aging program as soon as someone sees the first signs of aging, which is usually in one's 30s. But in the future, we may start doing anti-aging interventions in utero. As a matter of fact, we're doing them now. We're doing them now. When we find children who are born or who are in utero with heart problems, we go in and we do open heart surgery inside the uterus. Genetics, we're discovering ways to treat genetic diseases in the uterus. So, in the years to come, we're going to play with people's genetics and their metabolism earlier and earlier and earlier. But for right now, given the state of the art, I would say once someone starts to feel or notice some aging-related disorder or discovers that they have a predisposition because of their genetics to cancer or heart disease or diabetes, that they should start taking care of it right then and there. And if that's in their 20s, that's great.
A child born right now could expect to live how long?
The talk is among the insurance companies for women, girls who are born today, seeing a life expectancy of 120.
120 years old. Wow. Okay, Doctor, hold tight. My God, I remember, and I'm sure many of you do, that one day, you go into the bathroom and it's going to be a nice day today, and you look and, oh my God, there's a gray hair. What do? You don't anti-aging, you pull the sucker out. I'm Art Bell, and this is Midnight in the Desert. Please remain where you are. It's going to get really good.
Take a ride from the high desert and the great American Southwest. This is Midnight in the Desert, exclusively on the Dark Matter Digital Network. To call the show, dial 1-952-CALL-ART. That's 1-952-225-5278.
What the heck? Let's open the lines, all right? Begin lining up. If you want to come on the phone, it's area code 952-225-5278. That's 952-225-5278. If you want to come on Skype, go ahead and groan. I'm going to give out the instructions because a lot of people don't know. If you have a smartphone of virtually any description, download Skype. It's free, right? Skype is free. And then when you get it, become familiar with it and add us to your contacts. Now, how do you do that? Well, it's simple. On Skype, you just hit the little plus sign, like add a contact. And if you're in North America, you put in MITD51. That's as in Midnight in the Desert, MITD51. If you're outside North America, in the rest of the world, and we cover it all, same deal. Just hit the little plus sign, add MITD55. That's MITD55 in the rest of the world, and you can call us for free. And when you're on a smartphone, you'll sound like $1 million. And by the way, if you're listening on your smartphone, yes, there is a solution. If you're listening, just hit pause on what you're listening to when the phone call goes through. So it all works, and we're going to be using that a lot tomorrow night when we play a game called, you want to know, go to my Facebook site. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, back now to Dr. Platts. A couple of other really important questions I want to get out.
Art, let me just finish my answer.
Yeah, sure.
You know, back in early 2000, the National Institute of Health, which is a very conservative organization, meeting of their biotechnologists. And even in this meeting, they were talking about life expectancy shortly of 120, 125 years of age.
Right.
So, we're talking about things that people may not have heard of, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility at all. And frankly, I'm predicting life expectancies of 150 years of age and beyond. We're really on the cusp of incredible breakthroughs across the board, not just in new drug therapies. There's 467 new drugs under development, that any one of which could be a breakthrough in anti-aging. Mm-hmm. But there's new breakthroughs in energy medicine and in light medicine and in natural, more natural energies that can be harnessed to help rejuvenate the body and to rejuvenate the cells. And our doctors are working on that, and it's exciting stuff. And you mentioned about healthcare being so expensive. This stuff is cheap. This stuff is almost free. But it's that there's not enough competition, that we have an FDA and a government that hinders competition and prevents these technologies from seeing the light of day.
I got it. When we're talking about 120 to 150 or more years, are we talking about productive years?
Oh, absolutely. Who wants to be there? And if they're in a
nobody,
if they're a grape, not grape, they're a raisin.
Yeah, raisin.
Nobody wants that. We're talking about seeing the oldest that I want to see myself or anyone else become is a great 65-year-old.
Okay.
And if you look at the people in Hollywood, I mean, just look at some of the the Hollywood actors and the actresses. These people in their 70s and 80s and 85.
I know. It's very suspicious.
Fantastic.
It is very suspicious, Doctor. And it makes me want to ask you how many, I'm asking you for a guess only, Hollywood stars do you think are using this high-end anti-aging regimen?
Oh, my God, 90% plus.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Actually.
90% plus. I have a huge number of my doctors out in Hollywood and in California. California probably the largest concentration on the planet.
Figures.
There's a huge amount out there, and these people are really availing themselves of it in all ways possible because it works. It works. And everything that I've told you is available, explanations of all this and videos, too. Explaining some of the more complex issues like telomeres are available on my website under Immortality Now. I do interviews with the top scientists around the world, and it's Immortality Now. It's on worldhealth.net, and it's all free for your listeners, of course.
Okay. I want to ask you about cancer, the big C.
Okay.
Where are we with cancer? I mean, are we ever going to cure cancer?
Well, there are those who say that it has been cured. It was cured back in the 1930s. And then it was cured again in the 40s and in the 50s and the 60s.
What are they talking about?
If you listen to any of the cancer researchers, the cure is always right around the bend. And, boy, this is like I said, there's more politics in medicine than there are.
Just tell the truth. What's the deal with cancer?
I think that there are many, okay, I can say this without getting myself into too much trouble. There are other countries in the world that have a much higher cure rate than we do here in the U.S.
Why?
Because they are open to everything that works. And there is less regulatory harassment of exploring new therapies and natural therapies. And so if you have cancer, you might be better off availing yourself of places such as Germany, Great Britain, Japan, for these Korea, cancer therapy.
Do the statistics bear out what you're saying? In other words,
yes, absolutely.
Talk to me about percentages of cure rates for any given cancer you want to talk about here versus somewhere else.
Look, we made some good inroads into childhood cancers, specifically leukemia. We've made some good results into certain forms of cancer like prostate cancers, or the cure rate has improved dramatically.
Okay, my question, doctor, was comparing cure rates here to there.
Better over there.
How much better?
Probably a third to half.
God.
Yeah. And there are doctors here who are doing a lot of cancer therapies that are out of the box, and they're afraid to talk about them. And they're using alternative cancer therapies, and they're mixing both traditional allopathic cancer therapies, the standard of care, with alternative therapies, and getting much better results. People living longer, having a better quality of life, and in some cases having outright cures.
All right. 15 years ago, on my radio program, Doctor, I said that marijuana should be legal.
You were absolutely right.
It's happening now, slowly but surely. Here in Nevada, we've got medical marijuana. In Colorado and Washington, they've got more than that. They've got go buy what you want marijuana. Mm-hmm. And we're in the middle of a revolution, finally. 15 years ago when I said it, people said I was a devil, and I was leading people into a horrible lifestyle where they will rape and pillage and God knows what.
Ridiculous.
I really took a lot of heat.
Marijuana has been the cornerstone of drug therapy for the world. For the last 10,000 years.
Yeah, giving Dr. Gupta credit here, because I'm just a radio talk show host. He's a medical consultant to a gigantic network, and he blew the top off this, a couple of years ago now? Mm-hmm. So I give him credit for that. And now you tell me what you think of marijuana. There are various forms, oils, there's a plain old smoke in it, and so forth. Does it help?
Oh, it helps tremendously. There's 100. Last time I looked, there was more than 104 different cannabinoids, which are ingredients in cannabis,
right? Which
is the marijuana plant, and each one of them has a separate effect. And you do not have to get high. The THC, which is tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the component of cannabis that has a psychoactive component that gives you that buzz.
Yes.
That can be deleted from marijuana, and you can buy it legally. You can buy marijuana legally, by the way, in all 50 states. You just can. It's not the THC. The THC is what's the illegal part of it. The legal part of it is the other 103 cannabinoids. The other 103 cannabinoids do tremendous things with regard to improvement in immunity, protection against, they have antioxidant effects, they have protection against some aging-related disorders, they are good for arthritis. I mean, the list is on and on and on. They help with sleep, help with anxiety. Some of the cannabinoids stimulate appetite, which is very good for people with cancer because their appetite is shot because the cancer itself in late stages produces these chemicals in the body that ruin your appetite, that just make you feel horrible. And the marijuana helps that. There's some components of the plant that actually inhibit appetite. So there's all these various effects that you can get out of this one plant. And that's why for thousands of years, marijuana has been one of the most ubiquitous medicinal herbs on the planet. and is the real reason, by the way, why cannabis was outlawed, because it was. I'm sure you know this, Art, but the original Model T Ford, the first car, the first mass-produced automobile, was designed to run on what? Gasoline? No. It was designed to run on hemp.
Yeah, I know.
Okay?
I know. This is another case of idiots. I don't want to sound like Donald Trump, but idiots running the country. I can't think of anything particularly negative about marijuana. Even in the getting high part, you get high. You get no headache from being high. When it goes away, it doesn't leave you with a hangover. It just fades away. People driving on marijuana, not that anybody would recommend that, but they're liable to be the ones doing 45 miles an hour, not 120. Right. So it has none of the horrible bad effects that they assigned to it that I'm aware of.
Right, but it did get in the way of certain industries. It got in the way of the gas industry.
How about
it got in the way of the textile industry, because hemp clothing lasts forever.
Yep. How about booze? How about booze, Doctor? I mean, if you compare the two, booze is horribly damaging. It costs billions and billions every year in the economy from the damage that alcohol does. So I would think they would have a big interest in suppressing cannabis until it doesn't exist, if they could do it.
Right, and hemp paper, by the way. The Constitution of the United States was published on hemp paper.
That's right.
George Washington was the largest hemp farmer in the United States until the 1930s. You could pay your income taxes with hemp.
Mm-hmm. There's people out there going,
it was a major cash crop of the United States.
Are they really saying this? Yes.
This is all fact. This is all absolute fact. And what happened was there was a conspiracy. I don't generally believe in conspiracy theories, but there was a conspiracy among industrialists and the government to outlaw marijuana because it got in the way of paper manufacturers and clothing manufacturers and pharmaceuticals and a few other companies. And they wanted to get rid of it, and by God, they did. And they outlawed it. Mm-hmm. And then they compounded that crime by turning it into the biggest boogeyman in the war on drugs.
What did they do? Make it a schedule? In some places, I think it is still a Schedule 2 drug, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And that's right.
It's a felony, and you could go to jail for many.
Yeah, and that's right in there with like heroin and crack cocaine.
Yep.
In fact,
LSD.
LSD. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So what a horrible thing we did.
Schedule 2, by the way. Schedule 1.
Schedule 1.
Even worse. Yeah.
Even worse. Yes. Horrible. And so if somebody has cancer right now, and I have some friends that do, they use marijuana, and it helps them tremendously with the symptoms they have. Number one, from the, these body-wrecking drugs that people have to take for cancer, these chemicals. It helps them fight the nausea. It helps them feel better, and it's against the law.
Right.
So, what would the downsides medically of marijuana be?
Well, I mean, you don't want to, you need to understand that it is there is a psychoactive component in it unless you get the THC depleted oils, which you can. You can get the THC. I have hemp oil right here that I use for joint aches and arthritis, and I use it for if I get a cut or a scrape. You can use the hemp oil for your skin as a cosmetic. So if you get the THC deleted hemp oil, you have all the ingredients minus the THC, and it's legal in 50 states. The only downside that I can think of with the marijuana is you don't want to operate motor vehicles with it, and you may end up getting a little sloppy or foolish or lazy if you imbibe on it at the wrong time.
You know, I think that was one of the main things that drove making pot illegal was the government feared that people would become less productive. At least they used that excuse, and you know, there might be something to it. I mean, yes, somebody might smoke pot and sit back and contemplate the world when they might otherwise have gone and cut the lawn. I don't know, but
yeah, but they can also have a six-pack of beer.
oh, well, look, the danger to society from alcohol is far, far bigger than anything from marijuana, as I mentioned. Right. If I were given a choice, you don't ever want to face anybody driving in the other lane on anything at all. But given a choice between somebody on pot, somebody on alcohol, a drunk driver, I'll take the pot guy anytime because he's crawling along.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other interesting thing about marijuana is that it's immune activating drug.
Oh.
It stimulates the immune system, and so it has another benefit for people who have autoimmune disorders such as multiple sclerosis and also arthritis and also cancer. So there's a whole lot of good news to this, and the government themselves published these papers back in the 1970s saying that this substance had tremendous benefit, but it was suppressed. The research was suppressed because I guess they didn't want to get caught, being at odds with themselves.
Not only that, but our jails, Doctor, are filled to the bursting point with many, many, many people who are arrested for some level of marijuana, something or another. If we were to empty the jails of the marijuana arrests, they'd be pretty empty.
Well, then we'd have room for the illegal aliens.
Oh, my. Well, all right. Listen, I did promise everybody that they could try and call in and ask a question or two. You're a very honest, frank, open doctor. I appreciate that. Your website, if you guys want to know more, by the way, is immortalitynow.net. That's immortalitynow.net. Now, it's a little bit misleading. Or maybe I guess I should say hopeful. We're not going to get immortality now.
Well, it depends on what you consider immortality, Art. I'm not looking to be Methuselah at 969 years of age, but if I get to be 150, we're all,
Well, immortality, it's a word. It has a meaning,
immortality.
Right? Practical immortality. Not true absolute immortality.
No.
All right, that's good. We'll go with that. Opening the phone lines when we come back. Stay right where you are. I'm Art Bell, and this is Midnight in the Desert.
And with that, we will leave Art Bell for tonight, letting him pick up those phone calls tomorrow in the finale. Oh, sorry. Till then, that'll conclude our broadcast day here on From Day One. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Be kind to one another. And get us to that goal of 50,000 views, 1,000 subscribers. So box you over an extra sends those nice red boxes we can send to you guys. And of course, YouTube puts us on the algorithms. Till then, release the Krakens and have a great night. Enjoy your night's rest as we march along here from Day One. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow on the 31st. On the 30th.